Hey, what's going on, guys? This is my first video recording of doing a movie review. I think the last time I did this was 2 years ago with Ant-Man and the Wasp, which was not a very good movie. Quantumania. I'm going to talk about another Marvel movie that's actually much better than Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Um, Anyone that knows me knows I love movies, I love TV, but mostly I love movies. And I'm at a friend of mine that says you take them very seriously. I'm like, well, yeah, I do take them very seriously. I just do them for fun, and hopefully people like them, people comment on them, people have different opinions. That's life. But I decided to do this one and post it up on YouTube and also TikTok if it does make it there. But Fantastic Four first steps, which I just saw last night, and I'm here to give you a short review, spoiler free. I never give out spoilers. But basically, there's that whole narrative of anytime Marvel does something good, it's always, oh, Marvel's back, the best movie since Endgame. It's like I hate those. I really hate those sayings, which is why anytime there's critic reviews, I don't really take them that seriously because I look for those keywords. Not to say that they're in bed with Disney or Marvel, maybe they are, but I try to look for the opinions of people whose views on things are a little bit more in the middle, where it's like they're not overly positive or overly negative. They're just like, this is what I liked and this is what I didn't like. Like Double Toasted, like Real Rejects, like Jeremy Johns, Cody Leach, people like that. Um, and also I wait for the public, the fans like me, normies that look at things at a different lens. But I'm happy to tell you that I like the movie. I thought the movie was really good. By default, it's the best Fantastic Four movie. Um, there's people that actually did like the 2000s ones with Chris Evans, which I could see why. I mean, Chris Evans was probably the best part of those movies, and probably Michael Chiklis to a default. But those weren't very good Fantastic Four movies. And I'm not going to try and sit here and pretend I'm a Fantastic Four historian. I read comics, not to the extent of like most people I know that are more purists than me. I know what I know, and those Fantastic Four movies, they were goofy as hell. I mean, they were enjoyable to some extent. Don't even get me started on Fan Four Stick. The less said about that film, the better. That's how you don't do a Fantastic Four story. And when it was announced that the MCU was going to handle it, it's like, okay, let's see what they can do. But lately, the MCU has been kind of back and forth, mainly in the mix. I'm going to say mix because not everything Marvel has done since Endgame has been bad. Which that's why I always roll my eyes at that shit. Sorry, because it's like, okay, there's No Way Home. Shang-Chi was really good. Um, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and then lately Marvel's been hitting their stride with like Deadpool and Wolverine and Daredevil. Um, Agatha, even though I wasn't particularly big on that show, but a lot of other people loved it. And Ironheart, a lot of people loved it. I wasn't particularly fond of it, and not for the reasons people assume anyone would be. I just it didn't click with me the way most Marvel things do. But I liked it towards the end. But yeah, Fantastic Four knocked it out of the park. Was it perfect? No. I'm just gonna jump into it. So a lot of my, I'm gonna start with the positives. The CGI looked amazing in this film, and that's kind of been a lot of the big complaints with not just Marvel films in general, but superhero films in general, is that the CGI is very noticeable, and when it's noticeable, that's not a good thing. In this case, the CGI looked amazing to the point where I'm like, I want to live in that world, like this '60s other universe that they live in, which is Earth 828, which is a nod to Jack Kirby, which is his birthday, which I thought was pretty cool. I wanted more time in that universe because I'm like, I want to rewatch it, not just because I like the movie, but also because I want to see more of that universe. That looked amazing. I loved it. I love that little aesthetic. Um, and also like the fact that they made this more of a period piece film, even though they didn't come right out in the movie and said, "Hey, we're in the '60s." Like there was never a point in the movie where they talked about, what year we're in, but you can clearly see as day. You can see clear as day that they're in the 60s. They're not in our current MCU modern day. So I love that. And also I thought the team was good. I thought, Pedro Pascal, who is, it's kind of funny how Pedro is kind of in a league of his own as far as like, we had superhero fatigue. Now we're having Pedro Pascal fatigue, and I can see why. The guy's in everything, but the guy's also a great actor. I mean, it's not like when The Rock was in everything, and The Rock, let's just be honest, The Rock just plays one role, and that's The Rock. Pedro Pascal is a great actor, and he has great range. And, with stuff like The Last of Us, for example, he's good at getting lost in a character. I'll admit, he wasn't my first choice to play Reed Richards, but he's a big star. He's kind of Disney's golden goose right now with The Mandalorian. And I'll be honest, I saw the character he was playing. Was he, could he have done more as Reed Richards? Yeah, but I thought he really did a good job at getting lost in the character. Sue Storm, Vanessa Kirby, I thought, to me, was a standout. And there's this weird online discourse and hate about how apparently she was going to be the leader of the Fantastic Four, which she wasn't. Reed was the leader. Reed was the one going on TV and doing interviews, and clearly, as clear as day, was the leader of the Fantastic Four, and also trying to figure out ways to stop whatever threats are coming to the Earth. But Sue Storm, I thought, was a standout. I thought she was a little bit more interesting. Not to say that Reed wasn't. I found myself latching onto Sue a little bit more, and I think Vanessa Kirby. I'll be honest, I haven't seen her in everything, but now I do because I think she's awesome. Joseph Quinn was kind of my worry going into the film because I only know him from Stranger Things, and loved him as Eddie Munson, rest in peace. And that was kind of my worry. I'm like, I don't know if he can play douchebag Johnny, and I think that was kind of my problem. Was I was trying to focus more on other interpretations of the character, and I gotta say, I thought he was really good in the role because I thought he stood up more and actually did more as Johnny. Because when I remember those Fantastic Four films, yes, Chris Evans was the best part of it, but also him as Johnny was kind of being a dick. Like, he was really being a dick to his own family and his friends. Whereas Johnny in this film, yeah, he was not necessarily a dick, he was just kind of like an annoying little brother. But he also did something big in this film. Like, he did things where it's just like, that seems more like a Reed Richards thing to do. But Johnny did it. So it's like, huh, good for you, Johnny. And there were some nice moments between Johnny and, his nephew Franklin, which I thought were kind of sweet. Coming from someone who's an uncle, there were some moments that kind of pulled on the old heartstrings here. Ebon Moss-Bachrach, from The Bear, Richie, cousin. Again, he's good in everything. I thought they didn't really give him a lot to do in this film. I mean, there's a relationship going on with him and another character. Not Alicia. I think that's going to happen later on. Where it's just like, okay, that's him. And I get, they didn't do they did and they didn't do an origin story where the beginning of the film, I guess it's kind of like a slight spoiler, is they treat it like an interview from a 60s ABC, TV show, which clear as day they say ABC, it's Disney. And they're like 4 astronauts, went into space and they came back with superhuman abilities, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know, I would have liked more time kind of exploring, Ben Grimm's story, because there's something very human and very sad about him. Because, everybody else gets powers, but they can still look human. He literally becomes this thing, hence the name of the thing. And there's just something very sad about him where it's just like, I kind of wanted more of that. I think if I had, I do have criticisms about this film, and one of them is that I wanted more. I wanted more from the characters because this film is actually paced very well. Like, there was never a moment where I felt bored, but at the same time, I felt that I felt some things were a little rushed. I mean, not like ham-fisted in. Well, with one character, which I won't mention who it was. I'm pretty sure you guys already know who that is. But some character arcs felt a little rushed. And you can tell they wanted this film to be longer. but I think Marvel was like, either Marvel, Disney, or both, or the director was like, I need to get this down to like an hour 50. And also there was that interview he did where he said he had to delete some stuff, and that included John Malkovich's character, which that had to suck. I would have loved to see this movie. But going back to the positives, Silver Surfer was great. I forget her name, Julia Garner. I thought she was amazing. I thought she was great as Silver Surfer. I thought I said Sue was the standout. She's kind of a close second. I thought she had a really good backstory, which again, one of those things of like, I thought that was interesting, but I want more. I kind of wanted more. And it's just like, I don't know. Those are always my criticisms. I remember those are my criticisms of Thunderbolts, which I love Thunderbolts, but I wanted more. And I think in some ways that was kind of by design of like, we're going to give you more in the future. We're just going to give you everything now because we're just kind of reintroducing these characters. But I thought she was great. I thought the CGI on her looked amazing. I thought it really did stand out. It didn't look like PS2 video game graphics. And Galactus. Galactus is nightmare fuel. That was like a horror movie character. Especially the scene where he's like peeking into the building. I forget it. If you don't if you don't crap your pants when you see that, like, I don't know what to tell you. But he was great. Ralph Ineson just naturally has a voice to do anything. Like, that guy's gonna get work forever, and it's good to see him getting work. But yeah, I thought he was a great Galactus. This wasn't Stormcloud, whatever the hell that was, and Rise of Silver Surfer. Like, this was the Eater of Worlds Galactus coming onto Earth and just wrecking shit. Like that. Like, there was a point where I legit jumped, where it was the climax of the film, and like something happens, and you just see his hand come out, and I go, shit. But he's amazing. Well, without giving away too much, I'm trying to be as brief as possible. And the score was great. Michael Giacchino. Am I saying his name? Giacchino. He any score he writes is always a hit. He did the score for the Batman. He directed Werewolf by Night, which I'm like, for a first time director and a guy that's known as a score guy, that was pretty impressive. And anyone that doesn't have the Fantastic Four, in their head, you're lying. You're lying to yourself. I know it. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of everything. I don't want to give away too much. Again, negatives. It's not so much negatives as F this film. Negatives just being like, I kind of thought some things were rushed. And also The Thing. I wanted more out of The Thing. I also would have liked The Thing and Johnny to have more of a relationship together, kind of they did in the comics, and also the cartoon, and the Chris Evans movie, and the Chris Evans and Michael Chiklis thing and Johnny in the movies from the 2000s. I would have liked more out of that. What else? And I gotta say, the baby Franklin. Has there ever been a good CGI baby in a movie? Like, I get you couldn't have a real baby because real babies are a real hassle, but that CGI baby was not good. Like, I forgot who I heard it from, whether like this baby looked terrible. I'm like, I don't know if it looks that. Ooh, like, ooh, like that's compared to like Twilight, Bella and Edward's baby. Like, it looks slightly better, but still, it's just like, that's fake as hell. And anyone that knows about Franklin, Franklin Richards, if you know, you know. He does play a big part in this film. I'm gonna assume he plays a big part in, Doomsday and Secret Wars. Let's see. And there's two scenes after the movie. There's a mid-credit and a post. The mid was good. It finally gives us something we've been kind of waiting for a while. And to really think about it, it's kind of terrifying how the scene played out. It almost felt like Kind of felt like the movie The Strangers. I don't know if you guys remember, you saw the movie with Liv Tyler, The Strangers. That's what it kind of felt like. I don't know how to describe it without spoiling anything, but you guys are gonna want to stay for that. Like, it finally gives us something that we've been waiting to see for a while. And my hand's falling asleep. And then the post credit scene is kind of cutesy. It kind of gives us a cartoon. Which maybe I spoiled that, but whatever. It gives us something a little cute. It's an animated thing. I'm just gonna leave it at that. And I kind of dug it too. But all in all, Fantastic Four was good. First steps. Um, I'm not gonna say Marvel's back. I'm not gonna say best thing since Endgame. I would say very, very good movie. I enjoyed Superman a little more, but I still enjoying this too. I still do want to go do a rewatch. And was it fantastic? Yes. Could it have been better? Yes. But overall, very good movie. I would say B plus. If I had to grade it, B plus. So, but thank y'all for watching. Subscribe, like, and comment, share, and I'll be doing more of these. I'll try to do more of these. I'm not gonna make any promises because I get lazy and don't do them. But anyways, guys, peace out.